I remember the sound of my own breath right before everything went black. It was shallow, shaky, the kind you take when you're trying to convince yourself that everything's okay, even when your gut screams it isn't. I was 17, and my parents had just graciously lent me their rusty, barely running silver sedan. My sole duty was to pick up my younger sister from dance class and then drop her off at the hair salon. It was always like this. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments where you're watching this video from. I was their go-to errand girl, their free taxi service, the fallback when everyone else had actual plans. Still, I always said yes. A part of me craved their approval, longed for my mom to say thanks, honey, instead of don't be late. Her hair is more important than your excuses. That night, the sky opened up. Not a gentle sprinkle, but a full-blown downpour. Our town's roads flood quickly, and the sedan's tires were practically bald. Dad never saw it as a priority. I was just 5 minutes from the salon when my world imploded. One wrong turn, one missed break. A blinding flash of headlights, a scream caught in my throat, swallowed by the screech of metal and shattering glass. My arm slammed into the steering wheel. Something snapped. Then, an eerie silence. I woke up tasting blood, my left leg completely numb. The passenger side was crushed inward, trapping me. My phone had flown somewhere under the seat. The airbag had seared my chest. This is it, I thought. This is how I die, in my dad's never-serviced car. Rushing my sister to her stupid hair appointment. Then, another set of headlights. I blinked, my vision blurry. It was my parents' SUV. Relief washed over me. For a fleeting second, I believed I was saved. They pulled over, and Mom scrambled out, not to me, but to the passenger side where Emily, my 15-year-old sister, sat crying but unharmed. She's going to be late, Mom shrieked. I told you this car was junk, Dad grumbled, surveying the mangled hood. They didn't come to my side, not when I groaned. Not even when I cried. I think my arm's broken. Emily had a small scratch on her cheek, nothing more. But Mom was already fussing over her hair, ushering her toward the SUV. We can't miss the appointment. They charge a fee if you're over 10 minutes late. I was still pinned, still bleeding. Dad, I whispered, my voice weak. Please help. I can't feel my leg. He looked at me, just once, and said, if you can crash a car, you can figure out how to get out of it. And then they left. They left me there, bleeding, trapped, rain drumming on the shattered windshield. I don't know how I found the strength. I unbuckled, sobbing, and somehow dragged myself across broken glass to the passenger door. I kicked it open with my good leg and crawled onto the roadside like a wounded animal. 20 minutes later, a stranger, a woman in her 50s, stopped and called 911. I spent 6 hours in the ER, a fractured femur, a dislocated shoulder, deep gashes on my ribs. They had to sedate me just to stitch me up. When I finally awoke, in a hospital bed, my parents were nowhere to be found. Not that night, not the next day. They only showed up when the hospital sent a bill and required a guardian's signature. When they finally did appear, Mom walked in with a Starbucks cup and announced, you'll have to pay this off. You know we're not rich. Dad just crossed his arms and muttered, maybe next time you'll drive safer. Emily. That night, Emily posted a photo from the salon, captioned, car crash drama, but I still got the curls. The comments flooded in. Your fam is iconic. Slay, even in chaos. Hope your sister's okay, but you ate. No one knew the truth. No one knew I almost bled to death because a hair appointment couldn't be missed. That was the exact moment I stopped being their daughter and started becoming something else entirely, a storm they never saw coming. And this time, they'd be the ones trapped. Recovery was agonizingly slow and utterly humiliating. I was sent to a rehab center for 6 weeks because my parents couldn't be bothered to care for me at home. My room, I later learned from a TikTok tour my sister posted while I was still in a wheelchair, had been converted into closet overflow space. I watched it from my rehab bed, tears streaming down my face. When I finally limped home, my shoulder still braced, my legs scarred and stiff. There was no welcome. No balloons. No, we're glad you're alive. Just Emily whining, ugh, does this mean she's back already? I was using her desk. And Mom, pointing at the table, don't get blood on. The cushions, they're new. It hit me then. I wasn't their child. I was an inconvenient burden who hadn't died when I was supposed to. So, I stayed quiet. I played the good daughter, cooking, cleaning, even folding laundry one-handed while my body still ached. But I listened. And what I learned changed everything. They had taken out a small life insurance policy on me when I turned 16. Nothing suspicious, they'd said. Just a college fund alternative. But after the crash, they tried to cash it in while I was still alive. The hospital rejected the claim, but it explained everything. They had planned for me to be gone. And when I survived, I became a nuisance. So, I made a decision. I stopped crying and started planning. I got a job at a call center 3 towns over, saved every penny, and moved out without a word at 19. I enrolled in online college, took night classes, and picked up odd gigs. I rented a room from a kind, retired teacher who knew I had a past but didn't pry. 5 years later, at 24, I was a college graduate, a licensed trauma counselor, and a woman who had just bought the building that housed my parents' beloved family. Salon, the same place Emily slayed her curls the night I nearly died. The same place my mom bragged about owning 50% of the business to her bridge club. What she didn't know was that the other 50% owner had quietly, legally, and entirely sold their shares to me 6 months prior. But I wasn't finished. I waited until Mom was meticulously planning a huge spring beauty event, something the salon held every year to attract influencers, clients, and wedding bookings. She was already bragging about it in the neighborhood newsletter. I let her the night before the event. I walked in with a clipboard and a smile. The receptionist, now my employee, handed me the master keys. I entered the office and replaced every poster, every reservation screen, every client confirmation card with a bold notice. Event canceled. Management has changed. Contact Dr. Rivers for details. Yes, Dr. Rivers. I'd changed my last name, but they knew exactly who I was when I walked into the middle of the salon the next morning. Dressed in black slacks and a blazer, clipboard in hand. Mom's mouth fell open. Emily dropped her iced coffee. Dad, who had swung by to take credit for the event as usual, froze. I calmly stated, "You'll need to collect your belongings. As of today, this property is under new ownership, and you're not on the lease. But this is our salon." Mom shrieked. "Not anymore," I said. "And if you even think of trespassing, the cameras I just installed say otherwise." Emily stormed out, crying. Dad tried to argue. I handed him a letter from my lawyer. Mom stared at me like she was seeing a ghost. "You're not our daughter anymore," she hissed. I smiled. I never was. Apparently, I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't resort to insults. I didn't need to. They had left me bleeding once. Now, I left them, stunned and utterly irrelevant. After I evicted them from the salon, you'd think that would be the end. But narcissists don't go down quietly. They pivot to pity. Within days, my parents started telling everyone in the neighborhood that I had gone crazy, that I was vengeful and mentally unstable, attacking them over a childhood misunderstanding. They claimed I was always dramatic and that the car crash was just an accident they had nothing to do with. Emily went on social media and posted an old photo of me with the caption, "Some people never heal. They just hurt others." What they didn't know was this. I had everything documented. The hospital discharge papers, the 911 audio logs from the woman who found me, the insurance company's rejection letter after they tried to collect on my life, policy while I was still alive, screenshots of texts, emails, everything. And now I had an audience. Through my work as a trauma counselor, I had quietly built a blog and a private, growing community for people with narcissistic parents. Thousands of women who had gone through what I had, and worse. When I posted my story anonymously, went viral within 2 days. Then, I dropped the receipts. No names, no identifying details, but enough proof that people started asking. Who would leave their child bleeding in a car for a hair appointment? Who tries to cash a life insurance policy on their still living daughter? Who does this? It spread like wildfire. Even local news picked it up as an anonymous blog whistleblower story. And you know what happened next? Their friends stopped calling. Their church group quietly removed them from the directory. Their salon license expired and was never renewed. Now a subject of public scrutiny, clients vanished, their beauty empire crumbled, and me. I opened a new clinic in that same building, a trauma therapy center, free for teens who have survived family, neglect, or abuse. The name on the glass, the Resilience Room. On opening day, I gave a speech. I didn't name names. I didn't shout. I simply said, I once bled in a car while the people I loved rushed to an appointment. Today, I hold the keys to the space they left me to die for. So, if you've ever been abandoned, bruised, or silenced, this room is for you. There were tears in the audience. I saw myself in so many of them. And I realized I didn't need them. To apologize, I just needed to never become like them. Months later, I received a letter from Emily. No apology, just bitterness. How does it feel to ruin your own family? She wrote. I smiled because the truth is, I didn't ruin a family. I escaped one, and I built something better with the pieces they left behind.